I didn't want to overdo it and just fatigue my arms, so I tried to back off and reset and go back in again. I'm still having trouble figuring out how he caught my back, but you know, I don't regret changing camps. I've been working on my back escapes, and it's crazy, but I knew exactly what to do to get him off my back. But when he grabbed me, he had it tight. At that point, I couldn't do anything.
Question for Jorge. You announced before the fight that you were going to retire. Can you just what was tonight like for you? I mean, obviously very emotional, I'm sure, but to come out with the win, I mean, are you satisfied with that decision that you're retiring?
Yeah, I thought about it long and hard. I would probably retired in August, but I didn't want to go out with an L. So I was very happy with tonight's result. And, yeah, man.
You're one of the guys that's been around since I think 2003 is when you started in the UFC. I mean, was it a hard decision or was it something you said this is just the time?
No, it wasn't a hard decision at all. I'm getting older. I'm going to be 40 this year, and I see some of these young guys like Melvin and Jim and Pat. These guys are young, and they're no joke. You know what I mean? And my reflexes are slowing down. I've got a family to take care of, and I don't want to suffer a serious injury where it might complicate that. I'm very happy with what I've done here, and I'm very happy with what it gave back to me, and it's time to go, and I'm happy going out with the W.
Was that, I mean, the emotion, was there a lot of emotion, because getting the win, I'm sure, is the biggest part
That's
of it.
just me as a person, man. I'm an emotional mess, man. I'm a big baby.
Singing career after this, maybe? Is that the next plan?
That is the next plan. I'm going to start a ballot probably next week. We'll see how it goes.
Thanks.
This question's for Pat. First, now when we talked before the fight, you said with your Dragon Ball Z haircut, is it staying or is that going?
No, man. I said I made a deal that the top of my hair. I haven't done this since high school. I was not going to cut the top of my hair until I submit somebody in the octagon, which probably means that I'm going to have a Clay Guida in a little while. But that's what I said. I said That's the plan for now. It's not definite, but I'm bringing it back. And I don't know if any of you saw, but somebody actually wrote "Snooki got taller" at the weigh-in. Yeah, man, that's terrible. Yeah, Snooki got taller at the weigh-in. I was like, I wanted to be mad at that, but you can't. But no, the hair is going to be here for a bit.
And the next part of my question is, throughout the fight, a lot of the reaction in the MMA fan base was your submission defense. When Christian got you in some positions, you worked your way free. So can you talk a little bit about working on the things you work on and how that part of your game is progressing?
Well, I've said that I'm finally the smallest guy in the room in Death Clutch. I'm finally the smallest guy there. We've got Brock Lesnar, Cole Conrad, who is a monster, John Matson, a bunch of other guys. And we've got Marty Morgan, who is a world-renowned wrestling coach, man. We've got Caprito, who is also our jiu-jitsu coach. So I have been able and been given the opportunity to finally roll around, grapple, and get stronger with a bunch of guys who are a lot bigger than I am. So, I mean, Christian Moorcraft fell on top of me. Christian Moorcraft went for submissions. But if you can become accustomed to having Cole Conrad trying to pull your arm off or Brock Lesnar trying to squeeze your head off, then everybody else, you tend to stay a little bit more calm and relaxed. Whereas before, back in the day, as soon as you grab my forearm, I just start tapping everything. I'm definitely growing. My ground game is not as garbage as the world thinks. I actually had a guillotine for about 3 seconds. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I had it in for about 3 seconds, and then I got taken down. That sucks. Sorry, Morty.
Going back to Jorge real quick, can you tell us when you did make the decision? Was it recently or at the start of camp? Or?
I would say probably at the start of camp. You know what I mean? I got a school opening up, and I was cutting time between training and opening up the school, and I see the future and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about it, and I've had enough here.
When did you tell the UFC officials, and what were their responses?
I told Dana at the weigh-in yesterday, and then I told the MMA Junkie this afternoon.
What did Dana tell you?
I actually don't remember. He said he was going to talk to me today.
This question is for Pat. Going back to some of the ground stuff, Christian's a very big dude. I know going in, you got mounted, once. You were underneath, but you stayed very, very composed. Now, what were you thinking down on the bottom there? You seemed to stay very, very compact. You popped up, and then you were right up the cage. What was going on there?
Two things were going on. One was, how the hell am I going to explain this to Marty? Because I'm not supposed to be down here at all. Like, that's the first thing that went to mind. What first thing went through the mind as soon as we got down to the ground was, oh man, this isn't supposed to happen at all. But just in any type of situation, all of your training comes flying back to you. All of your preparation, all the mental training, all the physical training comes flying back. And I knew to just stay calm. It's not so bad. I mean, with more time and experience, you just learn that not every position is a horrible position. Like I said, back in the beginning, as soon as you put your hand around my neck, I just started tapping. I figured that was it. Whereas, with time going on and time in and just repetition, you slowly start to understand that, just because you're on the bottom doesn't mean it's over. You don't have to panic. Just stay calm and collective. It's just, like I said, just repetition, man. That's all it is. Over and over again. It's like getting jabbed 1,000 times. Eventually, you won't blink your eyes anymore.
You have been a fighter in the heavyweight division that it's been surrounded in the land of the giants. Your last 3 fights, these guys have been humongous fighters. You've competed very well. Do you think in the future that a 240-pound, 5'11" heavyweight could vie for the title and progress, to that type of title contention?
It could definitely happen. I mean, size does matter to a certain extent, but it doesn't always have to matter. I mean, I've always been I'm going to be 5'11" no matter what happens. I'm 255 pounds walking around, 240 pounds come fight day, maybe 236. I throw up a few times, but I'm always gonna be 5'11". There's nothing I can do about that, and I'm still a firm believer that if small guys if I punch you in the head, you're gonna fall down. It's gonna happen. And can a guy of my size be a title holder? Absolutely. Frankie Edgar, supposedly, from what I hear, he's really small for his weight class, and the dude's a stud. I don't feel it necessary for me to go down. Personally, I like being the small guy in the ring. I like being the little guy who's, swinging for the fences with the big guys. I'm doing it big for the little man, man. That's the plan.
Well, congratulations on a great fight.
Thank you kindly.
Question for Jim. Jim, you kind of mentioned in the post-fight, but you're a guy throughout your career, you've never been finished. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us what it was like to get rocked, your reaction? Because trying to think back, you've been hitting fights, but I can't remember you ever really being rocked.
I don't really remember much of it, to be honest. It just kind of went into work mode and doing what I'm comfortable doing at that point. Those punches you don't feel. I mean, that first overhand, I'm pretty sure he had to have broken his hand on my head because my head still hurts. But the one that he dropped me with, I didn't feel, and I really don't know how I took his back. But all I knew is when I was there, I was going to squeeze as hard as I could.
I know the win doesn't necessarily erase what happened in the last fight, but you said that, that loss, you wanted to come back and face a very tough opponent. You got another top 5, top 10 guy right here. I mean, was this exactly what you needed, not only to beat him the way you did, but to submit him in the first round? I mean, doesn't erase the last fight, but does it help you feel like you built yourself back?
Hopefully a little bit. Melvin is going to be a perennial contender in this division. He can beat anybody at lightweight on any given night. So it's it's good to have a win over him, and I'm proud of myself to be able to get hit and knocked down and still be able to do what I had to do to get the victory in there. So hopefully, hopefully those wins that I had before my August fight don't go away.
And one quick one for Pat. I know you said that Marty's going to yell at you for even going to the ground, but in a way, are you glad you at least got to show off that that submission defense? Because you joke around about that, but I mean, in a way, was it good that you got to show that off?
No, man. I don't. That was bad. I hit the ground, and I stayed a little bit more composed than I normally do, and I did what I had to do, and I did everything that I was trained to do. But personally, I don't want to fall on the ground ever. That is no secret. Hey, guess what? Pat Barry's gonna punch and kick you. That's a fact. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe one day I'll submit you if my hair gets too long. But just that just wasn't the plan. The game plan was if you see a submission and you want to go for it, it's okay to do it if there's 10 seconds left in the last round. That's what the game plan was. When I saw it and I grabbed it, it was cool, but it was only a minute and 30 seconds into it, and I looked straight over at him and I saw him do this. And he was right, because as soon as I went to let it go, that's when he took me down. That was a pretty good takedown, because like I said, I wasn't supposed to be in that position anyway.
Ryan, do you know with Christian, did he get taken to the hospital? Was he okay? I mean, I know he was down for quite a little bit there.
He's fine. He's all right. He's good, yeah. Guys, we've got to get Jim and Melvin off to a live fuel interview, so final questions for those if you've got them.
Melvin, right after the fight, a lot of people saying on Twitter, like, man, if Melvin could just learn some jiu-jitsu, he'd be a great fighter. You told me before the fight you're training jiu-jitsu, on a solo basis 4 times a week. I mean, what's the problem there with your jiu-jitsu? How come that continues to be a problem for you?
It wasn't a problem. I mean, I did everything right. I knew exactly how to shake him off my back. I just happened to, when he jumped on my back, I was actually going to go down so I can pull his arm away from my throat. But when he reset and shook me, he collapsed my hip and I fell down. At that point, I had to try to roll over to the other side. I was sticking to the basics of what I learned, and a lot of people, criticize my ground game, and I'm not going to sit here and think that I have the best ground game, because obviously I don't. I've lost fights on submissions, but to lose to a guy like Jim, I wasn't emotional about this loss, like I was to the Lozon fight, because I really feel in my heart the Lozon fight was a fluke. I had Jim hurt, and my thing was I wanted to be patient, and I backed off when I could have probably swarmed him. It could have been a different result, but I don't regret anything I did tonight. I think I went in and I executed my game. I fought one of the best guys in this division, and I think I sent the message to a lot of guys, But I also understand that now everybody's going to want to take Melvin's back, because it's 2 fights in a row. 2 good guys took my back. So now I have to go home, back to Florida, and grind it out with the Black Zillions, man. I have, Jay-Z Convicente. I have George Santiago. I have a lot of great jiu-jitsu partners now that I didn't have before. And give me about a year, man. Just be patient with me. I'll submit someone.
It sounded like you were very, putting a lot of praise.
Don't cut your hair until you do.
Hell no, I'm cutting this. My wife ain't going to let that happen.
You give Jim a lot of praise. And, another question floating around after this fight is, where is Jim in the division? I mean,
Man,
how close is he to
You know
a
what,
title
bro? At the end of the day, and Frankie's not in this category because he's the champ. He's the number 1. But at the end of the day, me and Jim Miller, and I quote this, and you guys make sure y'all put it in there right, but me and Jim Miller are the best 2 guys in this division. Guys don't want to fight us. We're the 2 guys people run away from, and I know this because I've had other fights scheduled, and I can't say those guys' names, but people are not lining up to fight me and Jim, I don't even know where I stand right now as far as, when my next fight will be, but I guarantee, if Joe Silva called me tomorrow and said, hey, we got a fight for you, within a week, that name changes. Guys aren't lining up to fight us. I really admire Jim Miller, and facing him was probably the most nervous I've been in a long time. The nerves got the best of me a week ago, watching Anthony fight, when I was watching the Rumble fight, and I just started thinking about the Jim Miller fight, and I was losing sleep, and then I had to pull myself back and say, man, I'm one of the best. I have over 100 fights already under my belt altogether, and I'm a seasoned veteran. I just have to quit making those mistakes and beating myself. Nobody's going to beat me in this game.
And then for Jim, after you get these wins, we always kind of, as media, ask you, like, where do you think you are in the division? I want to ask you, what do you think you have to offer to the 2 guys who are there? We just saw you fight Ben, Frankie. What do you have to offer to them at this point in your career, learning from the other times that you fought them?
I train to get better every day, and I train to be dangerous. Tonight, that helped me get out, on top. I was still dangerous even when I was hurt. So, in my last fight, I had been in trouble, and serious trouble, 6 times, and knocked him down. And it would have taken little adjustments for any one of those situations to end the fight. I know I can put guys in trouble, and it's just a matter of doing every little thing right with some of those guys, and really securing it and making them tap or getting the TKO.
Guys, we got to get these two out of here.
Thank you guys, man. Hey man, congratulations, man.
Hey Pat, have you ever been able to get a hold of anybody in Warcraft's camp since the fight? Text them or anything?
No, I didn't. I've been. I mean, of course, naturally, as soon as the fight's over with, I've got 600,000 text messages. I called. My mom called. That's why I always. Call mom as soon as the fight's over, as soon as I can. And I mean, she goes on this rant of screaming, but I haven't been able to get. I haven't gotten a chance to get in touch with any of those guys yet. I mean, I have their numbers. I was going to send messages to see how they're doing, but I felt a little bit more at ease as soon as he said that they say Christian's all right. Those were some pretty solid shots on the ground. So like, I could only imagine when they said they took him off. I kind of figured they were doing that as a just in case. They seemed cool when I spoke to him before he left.
This question is for you, Pat, as well. You guys exchanged some words before the fight when you came into the cage. What did you say to each other?
Oh, when I was walking by him?
Yeah.
I told him, here we go, man. Here goes everything. I was walking by, I slapped his hand. He said something back, but I think as he was saying it, his mouthpiece wasn't all the way in, so it kind of was like, blah, blah, blah. And then when he said that, I was like, yeah. And I high-fived him and kept running, man. I just told him, as I was running around, I was like, here goes, man. Here's what you've been working for. Here's what I've been working for. I mean, that's what I tell everybody who is okay with me high-fiving them once I get in the cage. I run around in a circle, slap their hand, and say, here we go. The only person that didn't slap my hand back was Chet Congo.
And for Mike, you said before the fight that you wanted to send Papazian back to where he came from and that it didn't belong in the UFC. Were you surprised with his resilience and toughness in there?
Oh, not at all. I knew it was going to be a tough fight. I knew he was going to go in there and fight because that's what we do. We just want to prove that the bantamweights, we can strike, man. We just want to prove that we are exciting fighters and that we're here to be in the UFC and to perform for everybody, perform for all the UFC fans.
And you were definitely striking, and you had the crowd on the feet. Were you ever rocked in there during the 3 rounds?
Not really rock, but sometimes you have to pace yourself. You have to take your time because I like to slip. I like to slip punches. Sometimes you're going to get hit because that's the name of the game. And sometimes you get hit and you're like, all right, I know he's going to throw this again. So you give it to him. When he throws it, you slip it, and then you return off of it. So that's I want to show that part of the game in mixed martial arts, slipping and returning, and keep it exciting.
And for you, Nir, it looked like for a minute that you were going to stand and strike with Dwayne. Was that the plan, to lure him into thinking that you were going to stand and bang with him and then go for the takedown, or did he hurt you in there before you took him down?
Yeah, he hurt me with a couple shots, and I went in with the game plan. If he started winning the exchanges, I was going to take it to the ground, try to submit him, try to beat him up there. So that's what I did.
This question's for Pat. Hi.
Hello.
Did you feel like maybe you had something to prove because critics said that you didn't have the killer instinct when you came out tonight? And did that have anything to do with the last few punches in the bout?
I've got something to prove every time I stand. Every time I stand into the octagon, it doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter what's going on. I've got something to prove every time. The people who say that I don't have enough killer instinct after the Crow Cop fight were the exact same people who said I had too much killer instinct in the Congo fight, who are now the exact same people who are sending me messages saying, oh, man, it's only because he's not that good on the ground that you were able to do whatever. Like I said before, people are going to hate your guts no matter what. Do I have something to prove to people who are, loyal fans through the thick and thin, up and down, people who are genuinely just say that they want to say that they're fans of Pat Barry or friends or family or whatnot? Do I have something to prove every time? Yeah. Mainly, I've got something to prove to myself more than anybody else. Put on a show, yes. Perform, yes. Make the world happy, yes. But personally, every time I can convince myself to step in the octagon, that's a personal victory for myself. I mean, I don't know if the cameras ever catch it, but I am a mess in the locker room beforehand, like a complete wreck. I've sit there all day, like waiting, counting the time going by. I'm sweating. I'm thinking, this is dumb. I'm not mad at anybody. I can read. Why am I fighting? This is the bad idea. Like, and you know, it's always, that's the hardest part of the fight, is just walking to the octagon. Once you get in there, everything is fine. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that feels this way, but that's the victory for me. That's the proving to myself part. And it's great seeing you, by the way. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, that's cool.
For Pat.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you were coming off going into this fight, two big, exciting fights that you have talked about in you know, various interviews, saying that, you know, they were exciting fights, and that's what you always give. You give your best, and even if you had like 10 in a row, you'd still fight the same way. But knowing in the UFC that, you know, 3 losses in a row is usually the kiss of death. When you got caught early in trouble on the ground, was that going through your head? How, I know you talked about remaining calm. How were you able to remain calm there, knowing, you know, that you're like, oh my God, here we go again. I might lose this one.
I don't, and maybe this is a downfall on my part, but I don't get into the octagon thinking, if I lose this fight, I don't get into I don't step in there with the idea of getting fired on my mind. I know that I'm here to perform. I know that I'm going to throw thunder at anybody. I know that it's going to be exciting. I'm going to put on a show. I'm going to do what I came to do every time, even if I lose. Like I said before, if I lose, I'm losing better than anybody. I'm going to lose all the way. Like, there's no middle ground. I'm coming in to finish a fight or to get finished, and that's possibly unhealthy in the long run. But I don't get into fights thinking my last fight, what happened. If I came off of 2 losses in a row, do I get in there with more pressure on my shoulders? I got in the ring in the octagon tonight with the same amount of pressure on my shoulders as I would have if I came off of 14 wins in a row. Like, it's always the next big fight. Like I said, I fought main events, co-main event, Crow Cop, Czech Congo, Stephen Struve, and now I'm fighting Christian Moorcraft, who people call a newcomer to the UFC. That's the next big fight. To me, this fight tonight was bigger than these previous fights. Just because it was Christian Moorcraft and I wasn't the main event or the co-main event did not make this fight to me less important or anything. And it wasn't necessarily more important because I come off of 2 losses. It's all around. It's important. Period. Fact. Like, that's just what it is. I try not to keep myself bogged down with those things because, I mean, as every other fighter up here knows, the mental game is the hard part. Punching and kicking is easy. It's all the mental stress that comes along with it that makes this job hard.
And for Jorge, do you think was anything going through your mind, like any last fights before you decided to retire? I mean, is it in the back of your head maybe one more shot with Bisping? That ever go through your head about getting in with him one more time?
No, I let that go the minute it was past me. You know what I mean? I get one shot at it and make the most of it. It went the way it went. It's time to move on. I don't get stuck on that.
Jorge, round 1 didn't go your way. And what was going through your mind there? Did you think, I don't want to go out with an L? I know I said it.
I wasn't worried about that at all. You know, I have faith in my jiu-jitsu. I train hard in jiu-jitsu. He wasn't hurting me. He landed like 1 or 2 good shots, but I could tell it was frustrating him. And not only that, but I saw his cut, and I could feel him when he was on top of me. He was getting weaker and more tired. So I felt like the 2nd and 3rd round, I was going to definitely be able to press him harder. So that's the way it turned out.
And what does your family say about your retirement?
They're happy with it. They asked me to retire a while ago.
Question for Mike. Can you tell us what you were thinking after the fight was over, before the decisions were read? Did you feel like you had done enough to win it?
Yes, sir, for sure. We both was fighting. It was an awesome fight, but I know I got the takedowns. He tried to get some last-minute takedowns. I defended him very well. I'm slipping punches. I'm returning punches. I'm hitting with real good shots. My pressure was on the whole time. We started out in the center of the cage together, but at some point in time, as you notice, he started playing on the outside. Started playing on the outside because I hit hard. And as a bantamweight, I'm one of the hardest hitters, if not the hardest hitter in the division. And at some point in time, guys don't want to trade all the time with me, and that's just smart on him. And I had to keep the pressure on him, keep the pace up, and eventually get that win like I did tonight.
The title's going to be tied up for a little while they're coaching the reality series and stuff. But I guess, what's your game plan for the year? I mean, do you feel like you're ready for that title shot and maybe a couple more fights? Or?
Well, I have to keep proving myself to the UFC. I'm new. This is only my second fight in the UFC. Whoever the UFC puts in front of me, that's my job. My job is to worry about who they put in front of me at that certain point in time. And when they do that, that's the person that I'm focusing on. Because I'm here to fight for the UFC, and that's it, period. Whoever they put in front of me is who I fight and work my way up.
Jorge, can you talk a little bit about, you've done this for 10 and a half, 11 years. One highlight of your career, if you could name one, and one not such a highlight?
Obviously, the not so highlight was last February. I have to even say that. And the highlight would be any fight where I get a good knockout. You pick one, I'll agree with it. I enjoy them all.
Is there any opponent, when you look back on it, that you'd love to do over again besides the Bisping fight?
No. It's life. And you have your ups and downs, and you learn from it, and you move on. And, you try to enjoy it day by day. And that's what I try to do in everything that I do. And I enjoyed my ride. I love doing this. But I just come to the realization that I'm getting old, and I can't do it anymore. Not at this level. These guys they're awesome. They're awesome to watch. I'm a huge fan. I watch these guys, and I'm just a huge fan, just like you guys are. And I'm getting to a point where I realize that my reflexes are going, my speed, it's not worth getting hurt. So it's time to go.
And then, Josh, can you talk a little bit, after the fight was over, once Dwayne came back too, he seemed to look up, and he kind of smiled and shook his head, and he looked over at you and kind of gave you the thumbs up. Did you see him do that?
I don't think I've seen him. I don't know.
Were you a little surprised at how you were able to finish him like that on the ground? I mean, people kind of thought this might be finished on the feet.
Yeah, that's one of my best submissions. I haven't hit it in a fight, but I hit that submission all the time in practice, and I knew as soon as I got it, it was over because his arm wasn't even trapped, and there was no arm, and I knew it was over as soon as I got it.
And then, you've only been back 2 fights now, but basically dominant in both fights in about a 3-month span. Where do you want to go from here, and how do you feel? How quickly do you want to get back in there again?
I want to get back in there. I don't want to take 6 months off. I want to get back in there. Pretty soon. We'll see who they give me.
Jorge, it might be too personal of a question, so I understand if you don't want to answer it. But when Brock Lesnar retired, nobody feels sorry for Brock. He's got millions of dollars. Chuck Liddell, nobody feels sorry for Chuck. He's got millions of dollars. You've never been a guy that makes millions and millions of dollars. What does a fighter in your position do when you retire? There's no 401k plan. There's no pension plan.
I've got a school right now. It's opening up, and I'm sure I'll do well there. You know what I mean? And I feel like I can teach other people and help other people, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel the need to be a multimillionaire. As long as God provides me with what I need, I'll be more than content with that.
Jorge, how would you define your career?
Look at it. I've had my ups and downs. I've had highs and lows. I went out 19-9. It speaks for itself.
Question for Mike. I think it was the end of the first round. The horn sounded, and you guys were still swinging. The referee had to kind of jump in there. Did you hear the horn? I mean, what was going on there?
I didn't hear the horn. I don't think he heard it either because we were still in there swinging. Like, I don't know. We just didn't hear it. I just don't even think we heard it. And then that's why we have a referee. And he had to jump in there because sometimes you don't hear it, especially when you're in the heat of the moment and you guys fighting. And you got 2 guys in there that's not backing down from each other. Oh yeah, sometimes you just don't hear the horn.
The weigh-ins, you guys had a pretty good stare down. Even in the cage, you guys were mean mugging, real hard. Did you talk to him after? It seemed like you guys had a lot of respect after the fight, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of respect afterwards. Before the fight, we're the little guys. Especially me, we got the little Napoleon complexes. So they're like, oh yeah, oh you gonna beat me? Or yeah, okay, we're gonna see. So, we have big hearts. All right, we're the guys that want to impress the whole world to let everybody know that the bantamweights. I feel as though the bantamweights are the best, more action in the UFC. We have the action. It's nonstop pace. And I'm gonna say that because I gotta hype the bantamweights up. and that's what we do, man. We don't stop. We fight hard.
And with this win, your training partner, of course, Dominic Cruz, is going into the Ultimate Fighter. I kind of talked about this the other day, but is the plan now? I mean, are you hoping to go help him out with the show and do what you need to help him get ready for Uriah?
It's all up to Dom. If he wants me out there to help him get ready for Uriah, that's what I'm there for. That's my boy. He knows it. I love him. I talked to him right after. I talked to him before the fight. I talked to him after the fight. He enjoyed it. He said, "Man, that fight was awesome. I so enjoyed it." I was like, "Good, man. If you enjoyed it, I know the whole world enjoyed it." If he wants me there to help him out, I'm there. I'm there. That's my boy. That's my brother from another mother. I love him.
And one quick one for Pat. At the end of your fight, you can turn on and off that fight mode, but at the end of the fight, when Herb Dean stepped in, you kind of pushed him away and just kind of stood there. Do you remember what?
Don't remember that. I am sorry, Herb. Yeah, no, I had a. I had a little mini blackout moment after the left hook landed, and I saw his eyes roll back in his head. Jumped on top of him, which is new to me. I mean, punching people while they're laying on the ground is still strange. Landed the first shot, the second shot, and then a part of me was like, "Oh, this is nice." So when and I mean, I don't want to keep bringing this up, but I apparently I've got to keep hitting people no matter what happens and never assume the fight's over, because I could get ghost punched in the ear and get knocked out. So I was gonna continue hitting him until someone stepped in, and a part of me felt like as if, I don't know, when he stopped the fight, a part of me wanted to go, this one for sure is over. Like, so yeah, I had a little bit of it looked really cool on camera too, from what I saw, the push off. But I mean, I don't know, man. I was just an explosion in the zone. That was an emotional experience for me. And sorry, Herb.
Take 2 more questions.
This is for Josh. Josh, were you surprised how long it took the referee to jump in and stop that fight? Because it looked like you were looking up and talking to him, saying that he was out.
Yeah, I was telling the referee that he's out, and I seen on the replay that he was tapping, so I don't know what took so long to stop the fight.
And then this question is for Mike. Are you going to come after Pat for that fight of the night bonus?
Hey, man.
Man, me and Mike are the same height. So.
That's my boy, man. I'm happy for him.
Pat, can you share with us how many texts you've had back and forth with Mitrione after the knockout?
Oh, that hasn't stopped yet. That's all. That's the one person. That's the main person who we've been talking about, because he's under the impression that I did it a little better than he did. At least that's what I'm rubbing in his face. So we're going back and forth, man. We're gonna
say, can you decide yet who had the better one, you or him?
Oh, mine was definitely a lot sexier, for sure.
You didn't do the walk-off, though.
You're right. I didn't, but I did jump to the top of the cage without using my hands. I don't know if you saw that. I don't even know where that came from.
That was impressive.
And you got yelled at by the bar.
Yeah.
Just one question for Mike. Are you as confused at the scoring as I was for your fight?
I didn't know what was going on. I know I was trying my best so it would not go to the judges, and I wasn't even sure. I don't know. That's the judges. That's the judges for you. Can't even say nothing about it. I felt as though that I dominated the whole fight, and it was a good fight. Other than that, it was an awesome fight, and we just put on a show for the fans around the world.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, man, I'm starting to feel everything.